Hello and welcome. Karol Obara here. Welcome to my YouTube video channel. And today I thought I would talk a little bit about different time bases in Cubase. This topic might be a little bit confusing for some of you guys, and it was for sure confusing for me at the beginning. I didn't knew this option even existed, and on one session suddenly everything shifted and everything was out of sync, and I was pretty in panic. What's going on and what happened? So that's why I think it is important to understand it. And the next video I do for you guys will be about click track in Cubase and how to create an audio file with a click on it in Cubase. And I thought before I do this, I will explain these time-based options here in Cubase, because these are very important to understand before we go to this click track thing. So in my session, you may see already this main ruler above here is in bars and beats. So these numbers you see are the second bar, the third bar, fourth bar, so on and so forth. Then I've created another ruler track, and the base here are the seconds. So what you see here is the second, the third second, the fourth second, 5, 6, 7 seconds, so on and so forth. The next one, since in Cubase we can use many rulers underneath, this one is based on timecode. And this one is a little bit confusing for at the beginning, because the timecode display looked actually like this. This is the display for the hours, these are the minutes, these are the seconds, and these are the frames. So since I'm working in Europe and we are using PAL, and PAL have 25 frames per second, that's the format we are using. In USA you may use 29 point something or 60 frames, whatever, but I'm using 25 frames here. You see for every second there is 25 frames within, so that's why I open this time display here for you guys. And you see when I go with my playhead, the 6th second is always there, but what changes are the frames, and these are the frames. And when I reach the 24th frame, it's switched to the next second, and the frame number 0, frame number 2, so on and so forth. And then when I reach 24 again, I'm on the 8th second here. So this is how timecode display actually looks like. And this is a little bit confusing, because when you see this display, although it's timecode here in Cubase, you may understand this is the 6th minute and these are the seconds, because we are used to this kind of display on our digital watches, and this is how it looks like. So no, these are the seconds and these are the frames. Good. The next track I've opened here for you is the marker track, and I created a few markers. This one goes on 1 of bar 3, this marker goes on 1 of bar 4, and this one goes on 2 of bar 4, or the 7th second. And this number 2 goes on 1 of bar 4, but also on the 6th second, and this one on 4th second, so on. Then we have a click track, which isn't that important for now, and we have our tempo track. And you know, in Cubase we can play with the tempo, we can change the tempo, we can see the tempo changes in the tempo window, but also we can create a tempo track in Cubase, and every change will be displayed as this as a line here. So for now, in this version, since Cubase 7, we have different track versions. So the version number 4 here has no changes at all. The whole thing here, this little demo, is in tempo 120, which is the default tempo in Cubase. When we open a new session, the default tempo will be 120, and it's in many digital audio workstation works like this. When we open Logic, I think it's also 120 default until we change it. And with my track versions here, I created a few track versions. So you see now we have many tempo changes in this version number 1, and I have another version here. It looks like this, and total crazy here, version number 3, where we have so many different changes here. So this is the tempo track, and by the way, you can see the same also by opening the tempo track editor, and now we can see, okay, these are my changes, and it looks exactly the same. It shows me exactly the same things, which I can also see on this track. So whenever I change to another version here, my tempo track editor will also change and show me different lines here, so it correlates. It's the same basically. Okay. Then we have few tracks. These are 3 audio tracks: the red one, the blue one, and the yellow one. And the green one is the MIDI track, with only one MIDI event here, and this is basically a note, what is it, C3, just a quarter note, C3. I have to go back to my version 4 with tempo 120 all the way, so you can see better. So in tempo 120, this MIDI track this MIDI event is just one MIDI note. The length of the note is 1/4 note. You see it starts on 1 and ends on 2 of bar 3, so I may also show it like this. So if I need 4 quarter notes, I just duplicate this, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. It will be useful when we in the video about click track, so that's why I wanted to show you how it looks like. Okay, and the 3 other tracks are just audio tracks with some audio files on it. Okay, now to the difference between these bases here in Cubase. In Cubase we have basically 2 time bases: the time linear mode and the musical mode. And the differences between these two are the time linear is based on the absolute time. Time is linear, right? You can't really stretch or shrink time. 5 minutes are 5 minutes. It doesn't matter if we take a quick walk, for example, and when we walk really fast, or we walk really slow. The walk was 5 minutes long. That's what counts. Same goes with music. And when we have an audio track, let's say a song, which is 3 minutes long, it doesn't really matter if the song is really fast and played really in a fast tempo, or a slow, very slow ballad. The length of the track was 3 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever. So the time is linear, it can't change. And this is one way Cubase will think about certain clips here. So let's say this metal hit, this audio file is a metal hit, something really heavy dropped on the surface or something, and I want Cubase to keep this audio clip here at exact 4th second. Maybe there's a part of a movie and somebody in the movie just dropped something at exact this point in time. So I want this to stay here and not to be shifted while I'm changing my tempos here, and I will explain it to you in a minute. So first, let's go to our whatever track here, and you see this button here. That's the toggle Timebase button, and here we can switch between these different time bases. So this one would be the linear time base, because you see this is the little clock icon. Clock, time, linear, okay, you got it. And when we switch it on, you see this note icon, and you know, music is written with notes, so that's why the musical time base is, you know, showing us this little note here, and it's lit orange, so we know, okay, be careful, the musical time base is switched on on this track. There might be a case where you can't see this button at all, and it can happen when we go to our track control settings and you see this toggle Timebase button isn't in the visible control section. It might be here in this hidden control section, and actually in some version of Cubase I think it was even a default behavior. So when you installed Cubase, this button wasn't visible at all. So I didn't knew that this switch between different time bases is even possible because I wasn't seeing this button here. So it could be confusing at times. So if that's the case with you right now and you can see this button here and you don't know what to click, you have to go right click on the track and go to track control settings. Then you have to choose this toggle Timebase button here, and you have to add this one to your visible controls and OK this one. Now it appears, and now you can see this toggle button here, so you can switch between these two different time bases here. Okay, so when I switch to the musical mode, it means basically for Cubase, okay, I want this track and everything was on the track to react to my tempo track. So let's say, as you may see here, this let's say this MIDI note, or this let's check this, let's switch this musical mode on. This MIDI note starts on 1 of bar 3, and maybe this is exactly what I want to have. Whatever changes I will do here with my tempo, it always should start on 1 of bar 3. And it doesn't matter what time it will be, whatever place in time it's gonna be, if it's maybe a 3rd second or 15 second, doesn't matter. What matters for me now in the musical mode is that it always starts on 1 of bar 3. Okay, and same goes for this click, for example. When I change it to my musical mode, all these 3 tracks, they will also follow, they will always follow the tempo track, and they will stay on 1 of bar 3. Same goes for these markers here. That's why I've opened the marker track, and this musical mode is switched on, which means this marker will always fall on 1 of bar 3, this one will fall on 1 of bar 4, and this one will fall on 3 of bar 4. Okay, so now I can change to different tempo version here. Let's say something like this, and you see this track, every track that has this musical mode on, it stays on the same place within the tempo, so it's always 1 of bar 3. This is also 1 on of bar 4, and this is 3 of bar 4. So these things haven't changed. But let's go back to our 120 tempo here. Now you see this hit, this metal hit, was exactly on the 4th second. When I change my tempo here, and you see this this one is in the time linear mode, a time linear base here. When I change the tempo to something different, you see these other guys are also on, they haven't changed. These are on 1 of bar 3, and this audio track, or this audio event here, which has this time linear mode, it stayed on the actual time, so it's 4th second all the way. So this haven't changed, and you see these guys behave different than this one. And I think this is very, very important, because there are situations where we need to keep things on this timeline here. So maybe in the movie, things happens in the movie, and we have to, when we're doing sound design, for example, they need to stay relative to the time here, always at the same places. But when we are dealing with MIDI notes or audio clips here, and we are composing music, so maybe we like to have these things happen on certain place on our tempo track here, so it's always hitting something on 1 of bar 3, for example. I hope you can understand the differences between these two guys and how to activate them and how to change it and how to show you this button here on your track. There's one more thing to talk about in this topic here, and I have to open my preferences window. And in the preferences window under editing tab, you see this default track time type list here, and you can open the list and you see the musical, the time linear, and to follow the transport main display. And I will shortly explain what the differences are. When we have the musical here as an option and I click apply, whenever I create a new track, it could be let's say a MIDI track, right? And I will add, let's say, 3 MIDI tracks. I add these 3 MIDI tracks and automatically these are created in a musical mode, because here musical is selected, right? When I go and select, let's say, automatically all my tracks will be in time linear mode, okay, and I click apply. Let's say I delete these tracks and I create 3 more MIDI tracks, right? 1, 2, 3, add tracks, and automatically you see these new tracks are created in the time linear mode. So depends what you need in your session, you can use this or that function. So there's this third option here, and I can follow my transport main display. And when I choose this one, I have to open my transport bar here, and you see this is my primary time display here. And right now these are the seconds. I can change it to bars and beats, and let's start with it. And I open this window and I create a new track. Let's say a new MIDI track. I create 3 MIDI tracks, why not? Automatically these will be created in the musical mode, because here are bars and beat, right? So it has to do with tempo changes and creating music in musical mode. That's how Cubase understands this. As soon as I change this display to, let's say, seconds or timecode or any other option beside this bars and beats, so let's say timecode here, and I create another group of tracks, so let's say another 3 or maybe 2 MIDI tracks, you see automatically these new MIDI tracks are created in the time linear mode. And this is how it works. For me, it's confusing a little bit, because I'm not using this option too much. I have always the musical mode, since I'm working with a lot with MIDI, and I know whatever track I create, it will be in the linear mode, in the musical mode, I'm sorry. And whenever I don't need it, I can go by hand and switch or toggle this Timebase by hand. This button can also be assigned to a remote control, and I can switch it remotely by pressing a MIDI note on my keyboard or on my controller. But I wanted you to know how the settings are here. So again, we go to preferences, editing, and there you have this option. This follow transport main display, I think, is only in Cubase 7. It's not on the other flavors of Cubase like Artist and Essential. So now you know, and I hope you understand what the differences are between these two Timebase options here in Cubase and how to activate it. And now there will be no more confusions when suddenly all the tracks are shifted after you've changed your tempo track somehow. Okay, that's it for now, and all I have to say is goodbye and see you on the next video. Bye.